Hello everybody, Brian from Bearable Traders here. It is the weekend again, May 24th. And of course, this is the weekend video. We'll take a look at what happened last week in the stock market, and then we'll, more importantly, look ahead for next week. We do have a shortened trading week because of Memorial Day. Shout out to our service men and women there in the U.S. Thank you for your service. So let's get down and start out by taking a look at what happened last week. All right, so let's start out with a quick week in review here. Monday, we had the results of that debt downgrade that happened on the prior Friday after the market closed. Markets gapped down, but then came kind of ripping back there on Monday morning. But as the week went on, we had the 20-year bond auction, didn't go well. Interest rates were kind of forced higher there. Later in the week, President Trump took to Truth Social, urging Apple to relocate its manufacturing operations to the U.S. and threatened a 25% tariff on their products if they didn't. And of course, threatened the European Union with 50% tariffs if trade negotiations didn't start going a little bit better. So that kind of weighed on the market sentiment, and we pretty much sold off for the remainder of the week here. And you can see we were down on all of the indexes, especially the IWM, which is relatively more interest rate sensitive. So there you go. Areas of strength and weakness. We had basic materials, really the only sector that actually put in a bit of a gain on the week. Tech, which was the leader last week, was the biggest loser this week. Tech and real estate sectors down the most. 2-year was pretty much flat, finished flat on the week. 10-year definitely inched up there, went up to that sort of psychological 4.5% level, was actually higher after that bond auction, but it came back a bit. And dollar down on the week, 1.8%. That's a pretty significant move. And Bitcoin made a real rally there, went to over 111. I think that was an all-time high. Before we hit some profit taking on Friday, pulled it back to just under 109. And I believe that's where it's sitting right now, but we'll take a look at that next. So that was your week in review. All right, before we continue on, just a quick break, talk about my books that are available on Amazon. You can see there How to Swing Trade and Profiting as an Active Trader, both sort of positioned more for swing trading and position trading. And lastly, my How to Trade Options book. A to Z on how to trade options, including some strategies that I use. And I also will talk about a little bit later in terms of some of the trades I've taken. So you can check it out there. The links to the books are in the description in the video. And yeah, they're available, hard copy, e-reader, and audio for whatever you prefer. So let's go and check out some of the indexes now. Okay, so let's start going over some indexes here. We'll start out with the 2-year and the 10-year treasuries. You can see here had an interesting week. Really didn't make any progress one way or another. The stochastics are still moving up. MACD is crossing to the upside. RSI kind of just midline right now. So we may just be stuck here. It's just going to depend on how the news events unfold and whether we get more bad treasury auctions, that kind of stuff that's going to force the rates up here. You can see here we on the 10-year, we got up over 4.6% on the week, then pulled back. This 4.7, 4.8 level, pretty important area of resistance here. So we'll be keeping an eye on that as the week and weeks go on. And here's the Dow. You can see here we had this pop back up on Monday, and then for the rest of the week, especially Wednesday, we had that bad treasury auction. Wednesday really sold off and really didn't gain much ground. Thursday, Friday came back. On the Dow, we actually filled this gap here, so that's something to watch because I would expect now if we were going to do a pullback, fill the gap, and then maybe start to head back up. Or if we can't really hold that level, then yeah, there could be more downside coming there. Again, news flow so important these days in the markets, and you can see here on the weekly coming down, testing one of those moving averages. Same with the SPY, or the Qs, I should say. But you can see here we've still left a big gap, and we did manage a close on the week that held this level right here. So we're kind of in an interesting area in a lot of these indexes. There is a big gap to fill here, and yeah, if we start rolling over on Tuesday, we could be coming down to this 200 moving average here, which is around 293 at this point. And you can see here the cues on the week, kind of an inside week compared to last week. SPY, same thing. We haven't quite filled this gap. We've got the 200-day right there, so could be more downside, but we'll have to see what news comes out as we get into next week. And IWM, what can you say, is just struggling here. It came down, filled this gap, and then came lower. But it did manage to hold and come back above this area here, sort of an interesting area find ourselves. So some of the indicators, momentum indicators, are rolling over. MACD, stochastics, all RSI, they're all rolling over here. So we'll see again. Again, this is a very news-driven market right now, and you can see here the VIX did kind of spike up on the week, although we did pull back as the week went on. And fear index ticking its way up a bit. The dollar dropping here, and you can see here had a rough week, and again, sort of lack of confidence in the dollar, I think, at this point, because rates did go up and the dollar dropped, which you don't normally see. And Bitcoin, here we are hanging around 107.7. I think I had 108.7 on my slide, so we have lost another $1,000 over the last 24 hours. But you can see here we spiked up and we got up over what was a high here? Almost 112. Did we get to 112? Almost got to 112. And that was your week in review. But you can see here, Bitcoin still holding this trend line, which is continuing to go up. So we'll keep our eye on that. But right now, this is a bit of a profit-taking pullback, and we'll see what happens. Active. As I mentioned, I've been watching gold. Gold seems to be working, and in some gold trades right now. Not necessarily GDX, but playing some gold with some other miners that they're more small caps, but GDX is a good indication of where things are going right now. Kind of feel like it's one of the things that I can kind of feel like there's reliably is working, so I'm sticking with some of that. IBT, obviously been in this for quite a while since we broke out. And yeah, it's been made a nice move up, and I'm still holding IBT. Again, sticking with stuff that's actually working. PLTR, I'm in some right now. I've sold a fair chunk of it, but I still have a little bit. As long as it's holding this moving average, I'm going to stay with it. So we'll see where the markets go from here. Silver, I mentioned this in last week's swing trade video. Thought it had an opportunity as well, and so I'm long some silver stocks, but silver's looking good, but it's up into an area of resistance right now, so we'll see what happens. TQQ, sold that one last week on this pop-up, and that was it. Uber, I took some profits on that, and it started to pull back, then I stopped out of the rest. And UNH, I had some options on those, sold the 245 puts, collected the premium, and that was it for that trade. And I may look at doing something similar again. We'll see what the premiums look like for, say, these 275s next week. So potentials for next week trading. As I mentioned already in my current stuff, don't have anything in UNH right now, but I did take that one trade. And again, I mentioned maybe looking at these 275 puts next week and maybe selling them. Again, if you want to learn about that kind of trades with options, you can check out that in my options, how to trade options book. As far as some other trades go, I'm looking at Meta. Maybe if Meta fills the gap here, could be an interesting long, but I'd have to keep an eye on that one. We may get stuck in a range here. Because again, I'm not really keen on taking too many positions right now, or aggressively taking a position in some of these tech sectors, because as I mentioned last little while ago, tech sectors the top of the heap in terms of sectors one week, and then it's the bottom the next. So really hard to swing trade in an environment like that with some of these stocks. So Microsoft kind of looks maybe interesting here, might fill the gap as well, and look for an opportunity if that happens. Uber, I'm looking now at this pullback. I was long, I get stopped out of it, but now it's pulling back to this moving average. There should be some support here, so maybe an opportunity to get long on Uber if the markets start to move back up again. And yeah, that's about it. All right, let's wrap things up here for the week of May 27th. There's your levels on the Dow, Q, SPY, and IWM. Economic events, we do have some interesting stuff. We've got the Fed minutes at 2 o'clock on Wednesday, and we have the PCE data, which is going to be a highly anticipated number, just kind of a read on inflation. It is the Fed's favored sort of indicator for inflation. So that will be a number that will be highly in focus on Friday morning. And of course, consumer confidence, consumer sentiment seems to be moving the market these days as well. For earnings, we don't have a lot, but the ones we do have are going to be quite interesting. We've got NVIDIA after the close on Wednesday. We've got Costco, Marvell, and Zscaler, some other ones on Thursday. So a couple of interesting closing days, Wednesday and Thursday for earnings. So that's it, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your long weekend. We will not be in the room, of course, on Monday, but we'll see everybody hopefully on Tuesday morning, of course, live on YouTube, as well as for our members in the live trading room. So hopefully we'll see you there. And like I said, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Bye for now.